All right, everyone. Thanks for being here, for joining. I'm going to turn it over to Katie now. And thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. So just to introduce myself a little bit, my name is Katie. I work for Vine Skills. I previously worked for Filevine directly as an implementation consultant, and I've actually worked for a partner before. I came over to Vine Skills. So I've actually worked with Lead Docket, Domo, QuickBooks Connect, all of the different. So I have a little bit of knowledge in a lot of different areas. I wouldn't call myself, the best expert on any one of them, but I know enough about all of those things. And for those of you who are new to Vine Skills, we provide services for any one of those integrations. There are a lot of different things that we could do for you. We're going to talk about merging contacts today and mass updates. But if there's something in particular that you're having issues with, you can always reach out to Vine Skills and let us know, and we can let you know what your options are as far as optimization, or if you just need support. So I'll get started. I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my correct screen? I'm looking at Report Builder right now. Okay. Just making sure. I have too many things open. Okay. Forgive me. My throat's a little dry, so I might cough a few times. Sorry. So we're going to go over merging contacts today. And before we even get to that, I want to kind of identify that you need special permissions to merge contacts. So when you're adding someone to your organization, what you would do is go to that main menu and go to Setup, Member Access, and you want to add that member. I'm just going to add my personal information just so I can go through this process with you. So when you're adding a person to the organization, they don't necessarily have the permissions that you need them to have to do everything. If you want them to be able to add new members to your organization, you would add them as an org admin. Otherwise, I would just give them mailroom access. So I'm inviting myself, so I'm going to give myself org admin access. I also need to go to the team. Sorry, I need to add myself to the team. So you might have multiple different teams. So if you're adding a new person, you need to identify what team they're going to be assigned to. So I'm going to add myself to the default team. And then I'm actually going to go to the team itself. And I'm going to put my information in again. And I'm going to change from guest access. When you add a new person, they only have guest access and they won't be able to see anything in the project hub. So what I'm going to do is either provide my employee with admin or collaborator access. Project admins can reset task flows, remove documents, they can delete contacts. So you kind of want to pick and choose who gets access to do what. Admin and collaborator both can see and edit any fields within the template if they're on that particular team for that project. So I'm going to add myself as admin, but then you also most likely want to add a role. So if it's an attorney, if they're going to be the main attorney on this team, you would want to identify that. And then if you want them to get notifications based off of their projects, you would also subscribe them to those. So that's just the first step in adding someone. There's also these particular permissions. Oh, I don't think I have permissions in our sandbox. So, yes, I do. Sorry, excuse me. So now these permissions are even further permissions to do things on the back end. So I'm going to type my name in that I just added. And you kind of want to go through here and identify what you want your staff to be able to do. We're talking about merging contacts today. All of this stuff is in alphabetical order. So you can toggle these on and off as necessary. There's kind of like a a warning sign for some of them, because you wouldn't necessarily want like a new employee or someone that doesn't have a ton of experience going in there and deleting projects or, being able to merge those contacts. So I'm going to save this. Now I have the ability to merge those contacts, and I'm going to go to the back end. And when I say the back end, I'm talking about our advanced screen. So if I go to this main menu and go to advanced, all of these items are everything that you just saw that, I could toggle on and off as far as giving permissions. So this is also in alphabetical order. I'm going to go to merge contacts, and I'm going to type in, let's say, for example, I have after my migration, I have 1 million John Does. So I'm just going to type in the name John Doe. And you can select the ones that you want to merge before you actually merge them. So, I'm selecting all of these items that look like they're the same person. You want to make sure that you're not merging two different contacts. With people, it's a little bit easier to identify that, but sometimes with organizations, there's multiple offices. You might want to have that as one contact with multiple addresses, or you might want to keep them separate, but just be careful that you're not merging the incorrect contacts together. So if I go to merge now, it's going to give me kind of like a preview. So if there were multiple addresses, multiple phone numbers, I can get rid of the ones that are not applicable. So this is your chance to do some review before you actually merge the contacts. If I wanted to add the birth date, I can edit all of this information before I hit save merge. So let's just say, for example, this is the old phone number. I can just hit that little red circle and get rid of it. And then I can add the email address, whatever you want to do to it, and then save merge. So that's merging contacts. Do we have any questions related to that portion of today's discussion? We doing okay, Hillary?
Yeah, I think so. What if you have a contact that has different variations of the same name that you're trying to merge? Some might have a middle initial, some might just have first and last name, and you want to merge all of those. How do you know which one is going to choose for the name that's going to stay on the contact?
So again, if you're merging two different contacts, these are obviously spelled completely differently. So if I hit merge, it'll default to the first one, I believe, but you want to make sure that you're setting this up correctly. So whatever the correct name is, this is where you would edit that information here.
Correct. I will say that I've done this with clients, and potentially the majority of them would be like company names that vary a little. Sometimes they have ink in there, sometimes not. Things like that is what I'm talking about. And so, yeah, what I like to do, just in case, especially when you're talking about having like 5 or more contacts you're merging, to really clean those duplicates up. Sometimes after migration, old systems and just years of people adding lots of contacts, there's a lot to clean up. So I do like to go in and just copy the name exactly how I want it, whichever one I choose, before I merge it, and then I can just paste it easily without having to be like, which one did I want? That's just something I like to do, just to make sure. It's just a tip out there for you.
Thank you. So another thing I will say, if you're doing a merge contacts project and there's a ton that you have to merge, be careful after you merge the first one. Sometimes this box will stay checked and it will try to merge the previous contact as well, the new contacts you're trying to merge. So just make sure before you select merge and hit save that all of the information is accurate on here and you're not including this initial, the previous merge. So the other thing that we are going to talk about today is mass updates. This is also an advanced functionality. And just like with a lot of different stuff within Filevine, like auto tags, mass updates, mass permissions, you have to create a report first before you can mass update or auto tag, anything like that. So to create a report, I would go to Report Builder. And let's say, for example, I go to Project Hub. Actually, I am going to Civil Lit. Okay, so these are our civil lit cases. In the Project Hub, you can filter down to project type. Obviously, we have a ton because we work on all different practice areas for our clients, but most likely you have way fewer than this. So let's say, for example, I go into our civil lit template and Jane Doe is listed as the paralegal here. Let's say Jane leaves your organization and I am your new paralegal. So I need to reassign all of the tasks to the new person, reassign permissions to the new person, and also update this field right here. You never want to just remove people from Filevine before doing those three things, especially if you know, there's a new person that's taking over the role for someone that was either terminated or left or whatever. So there are a couple of things I would do before I even get to the report builder. I would go to advanced and I would go down to task utilities. And you can bulk reassign tasks from the old person to the new person. So let's say, for example, there isn't a Jane Doe in here because it's not a real person. But if I wanted to reassign Jane Doe's tasks to me, I would identify the old user and then the new user and then assign tasks. And that's going to reassign any incomplete tasks that the previous paralegal did not complete. So that would be step number one. Then we would go to build a report because a report is needed to do all of these mass updates or mass permissions. So I'm going to report builder. It has to be a list of projects. It's a very simple report. You only need the name of the project and the field in which you're trying to update or the person that you're trying to update in the mass permissions. So I'm going to go to the Bind Skills Sandbox and we want to select that template. Just bear with me. There's a lot of stuff in here. I'm sorry. This is the one that we were looking at. So this is our best practices civil lit template. I'm going to get rid of all of these other fields. And when you're looking at reporting, you kind of want to think of it in terms of an Excel document. So these columns, these are going to be the columns. So whatever is the first thing is going to be column A. The second thing is going to be column B, C, D, and so on and so forth. So you kind of want to think about it in terms of an Excel document. What I want to do is add that particular field. So I'm going to just copy and paste this. Sometimes when you're building reports, you're like, I know what data I'm trying to pull in, but I can't remember exactly what the field name is. It's always good to have two tabs open and copy and paste the information directly because if you have the exact name of the field, it will pull up for you. So I'm going to copy this and paste it here. And when you're talking about changing a contact, excuse me, when you're talking about changing a contact, there are so many different variations of things that you could have within this contact. So if I actually open this up, there's, you know, if this was a client, there would be a birthday here. There's company, department, phone number, email address, and all of these details too. So when you're adding contact information into a report, you have to toggle on this display related data columns. This is going to allow you to pull in any variation of the name, the email address, the address, the phone number, any of the details on the back end as well. So if we're just looking for the name, I'm going to put in full name. So whenever we're pulling information into a report or into a document, if you're doing a doc gen and you're just looking for the first name, last name, you're always going to do full name. So client, full name, adjuster, full name, provider, full name. So now I want to make sure that I'm including if you want to include your archive projects or not. So reports default to exclude any archived projects. In this particular instance, I only want to update my name for active projects. So I would not include archived projects within this report for this particular purpose. But if you wanted to include archive projects, all you would have to do is type in archived, add that as a criteria, and select yes. So now I'm going to run this report. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed a step. So now I need to add criteria for Jane Doe. So I only want to identify projects where Jane Doe is listed as the paralegal. Unfortunately, it doesn't allow you to identify by name, but we can do by email. So if you use is, the email address has to be exact. Oh, hold on 1 second. So if the email address, if you say is, it has to be exactly the way it's presented in that email address field. But if you say contains and say Jane Doe, it doesn't have to be the exact spelling and capitalization of that email address. It just has to include that. Apologize for the delay. It's just taking a second.
Should be faster for the majority of you, depending on what's being pulled. But with sharing screen on the webinar, that's what slows it down a little bit on our side.
And sometimes when you have your camera on too. So I apologize for the slowness, but it ran. We're going to save as, and we're going to call this something very obvious, like update 80. Because we're updating all of those paralegals to me. So I would call it something like update Katie, something like that. So it's easily identifiable when you're trying to look for it. So I'm going to save this. It's always a really good idea to share reports with people. I would share this with at least one other person, if not the entire organization. The reason for that is if you create a report, it's kind of like working on your local drive. It's your report. You can share it with other people, but it's not theirs, so they can't share it on. If you share a report with someone and God forbid they get hit by a bus or something, and they shared that report with you, you could open it up, edit it, and save it as your own. So if someone disappears from your organization, hopefully that doesn't happen, but you know, sometimes things happen and employment is terminated. You want to make sure that you're sharing those reports with other people, so if they need to edit and use them in the future, they have access to them. Otherwise, they have to go in and recreate the wheel. So I'm going to share this with Hillary. And You can also set up auto report settings if you want this sent to yourself. There's no reason to do that now, but just so you know, you could say, if I want this report, I want it delivered every Friday morning, every weekday, however often or the frequency in which you would want to receive that report. So now that we have this update Katie report, I'm going to go to mass permissions, and I am going to update permissions, roles, primary. I'm the new user. And let's say I want to give myself admin access. We need to identify the report in which that will update. If you just do a list of projects, it's going to update all permissions for all projects. So that's why that report is necessary to make these changes. You can update notifications as well. I would suggest doing that, but we're going to update me as the paralegal. So this is just updating permissions and roles within this team's assignment section. So the roles are really important because if you trigger a task flow to the paralegal and the roles are not set up accurately and the permissions are not set up accurately, that task will go to the wrong person and it might get lost and slip through the cracks. So that's the first thing, is mass updating the team member. So this is mass updating the roles and permissions. So this is letting me know that it went through correctly. And then the last thing I would do is actually update this field that we were looking at. So everywhere it says Jane Doe, I want it to say Katie. So I'm going to go into mass update and identify, edit a field in a project section. We want to go to the civil lit template. So, okay. And we're using that same update Katie report. We're going to navigate to the section, the actual field that we're trying to update. So I'm going to go to case summary. And we want to update this paralegal legal assistant with my information. My full name is Kathleen, and that's me. So, so now I've identified in the civil lit template all of the cases where I want my name to be here. And I'm going to queue that update. So now if I refresh, it's my name there now. So those are the things I would do in order to replace an employee. If someone leaves the organization, you want to reassign their tasks, reassign their roles and permissions, and then update their actual contact information in the staff assignment section in case summary. Any questions?
Or you pop any questions in chat or the Q&A at any time. Thanks, Katie.
Did everyone find this helpful? Does anybody want to chime in? Again, this is being recorded and we'll send it out to anyone. So if you need to refer back to this later, it will be available to you. That was really all I had prepared for today. Hillary, should we stay on for a while?
But we can't, but I don't think we need to. Here's something in the Q&A. Okay. All of the steps can be found on the Filevine website as well, right? Maybe you want to walk through how to find the steps in the Help Center.
So there are multiple different resources. So the support page is literal gold. So if you type in support, and we can provide this information as well. So this is Filevine's direct support page. So if you type in reassign tasks, this is that task utilities functionality. Again, you have to have permissions in order to use that. So if someone is working on the back end trying to update that person, you have to make sure that they have permissions for task utilities. So again, if we go into setup, member access, orgs, and I'm going to choose the sandbox and type in my name, they have to have task utilities toggled on in order to perform that. So anything that you're really looking forward for instructions for, this page is gold. This is all information that's listed in here. So task utilities, mass permissions, and then mass updates as well. So they're separate pages, but there are instructions, step-by-step instructions on how to do each of these things. You can also get to the support page if you don't want to keep this as a favorite. You can go into any page within Filevine. If you hit this button and you go to the help center, they can help you here. This is like, I believe it's live help through Zoom for Filevine. So there's also this Filevine University. And you will be able to look up courses on how to do those things as well, mass updates. This is mine, so there's a bunch of stuff completed in here. What other questions do we have? I saw some other things in the chat.
We just dropped the link to the support page, and Hillary did give an explanation as well, kind of following you, Katie, on where to find it within your Filevine hub itself. And then I also posted the link to recordings so they can always watch these over.
Great question. Thanks for asking, Chris. All right. If there's nothing else, and we'll let you all go today. Thanks so much for joining. Our website, vineskills.com, has tons of free information, as well as information about what services we offer if anybody is interested. But there's also just tons of information out there for you to try to help you in Filevine in any way we can. Thanks, everybody, and have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.